Next, on Currents News, a federal judge expanding a ruling that would have allowed more employers to opt out of providing contraceptives. A list of Jesuit priests that have been accused of sexual abuse has been released, and some of them served in our area. The man President Trump picked to replace Attorney General Jeff Sessions grilled on the Hill. Plus, a 9-foot-tall statue paying tribute to Saudi Arabia near the 9/11 memorial has been removed. The controversy behind the art exhibit right now on the news. Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Faublas. Another federal judge has expanded a ruling that blocks the Trump administration's mandate protecting employers from being required to provide free contraceptive coverage. Now the decision applies to every state. Currents News' Emily Drewby is here to tell us more. Emily, what's the latest?
Liz, the new rules would have allowed more employers to opt out of providing contraceptives if they objected for religious or moral reasons. It was set to take effect on Monday. Now, Catholic voices across the country responding to the injunction.
U.S. District Judge Wendy Beadlestone in Pennsylvania issuing a nationwide injunction stopping the Trump administration from implementing the changes. In a 65-page decision, Beadlestone referred to an estimate that more than 70,000 women could lose coverage under the Trump mandate, writing, "This state's harm is not merely speculative, it is actual and imminent." She added the loss of coverage could lead to women seeking state-funded services. Judge Beadlestone's decision coming less than 24 hours after a similar decision by a California judge that included 13 states and the District of Columbia. Reaction is pouring in. The United States Conference of Bishops released a statement saying in a free country, no one should be forced to facilitate or fund things like contraception, sterilization, and abortion-inducing drugs and devices, which go against their core beliefs. We pray that this decision will be appealed and that future courts will respect the free exercise arguments of the Little Sisters of the Poor and so many others who simply seek the freedom to serve their neighbors without the threat of massive government fines hanging over their heads. Christian Rada is the director of Respect Life Education in the Diocese of Brooklyn.
Conscience has been defined as God's innermost sanctuary, where God and the person meet, in that innermost sanctuary. So by the federal government violating that sanctuary, it's a travesty.
Alice Lemos from the Bridge to Life, a charity that helps women in crisis pregnancies, had a similar reaction.
Trying to roll back some teeny tiny protections for people who are either devout Christians, devout Jews, or devout Muslims, so that they're not forced to pay for something that they do not believe in.
The Order of the Little Sisters of the Poor have been battling the mandate for 5 years with the help of religious liberty law firm Beckett. In a statement, Mother Lorraine Marie Maguire saying, "We never wanted this fight, and we regret that after a long legal battle, it is still not over."
Under the Obama administration, a small number of employers qualified for the exemption, like churches.
So, Emily, what now?
So, Liz, we really don't know yet. So the Trump administration, they could appeal. They haven't announced plans to do so yet. Beckett, however, has announced plans to appeal.
All right, Emily, thank you so much for that report. Governor Andrew Cuomo gave his State of the State speech today detailing his plan for New York in 2019. Cuomo, who is a Catholic, outlined many new issues, including a ban of single-use plastic bags in stores, a new 5-cent deposit on most non-alcoholic beverages, the legalization of recreational marijuana for adults over 21, safety reforms for limousines, and enacting the Reproductive Health Act.
The state has already made great progress. We've turned around basic trajectories. It is a functional government that is competent. We are accomplishment-oriented. We're the most progressive government in the United States of America. We balanced budgets. I believe we should pass a constitutional amendment, not just a Roe v. Wade law, a constitutional amendment. Let's write the rights of Roe v. Wade into the state constitution so it can never be changed, no matter what happens politically.
Codifying Roe v. Wade into New York law would require a constitutional amendment approved by voters. Still ahead in this newscast, Baptist pastor Walter Hoy talks about his time in jail after being arrested for standing in front of an abortion clinic with a pro-life sign. He is just moments away. The Northeast province of the Jesuits have released their own list of priests accused of abuse. Now, these 50 priests have all, quote, established allegations against them dating back to 1955. Only 14 of them are still alive. National correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, Christopher White, joins us now to talk more about this developing story. Christopher, thank you so much for being here with us. Several dioceses have already released names. Why is it so important that the Jesuits have done so?
Well, Liz, the Jesuits are among the most sort of popular religious orders in the world. They really make up a lot of sort of the teachers and the scholastics, as well as just priests. So they're heavily involved in universities and school systems where there are a lot of minors. And so the thinking is, of course, this is sort of, a vulnerable population. And so transparency is the best way forward.
Are there any names on this list that are well known?
There is one named Father Keith Pecklers, who is a famous liturgy scholar who teaches at the Gregorian University in Rome. His allegation dates back some 30 years ago. Other names are sort of household names, but they are sort of prominent positions, former principals and sort of teachers at places like Boston College Prep, Fordham University, Regis, Xavier. And so, Jesuit institutions that have a lot of sort of cachet certainly are having to face this reality today.
Christopher, I think one of the big questions on people's minds is why have we seen so many dioceses and religious orders release lists like this in recent months? What's behind that?
So in terms of the timing, Liz, really in August, it proved to be a game changer when the Pennsylvania grand jury report was released that chronicled 7 years of sexual abuse within the state's 6 Catholic dioceses. And a lot of bishops and a lot of religious leaders thought, if we don't sort of get our own house in order, the state and federal authorities are going to come after us. So that's sort of what's been motivating this. The rationale for a lot of the pushed release names is if we put the list out there, one, we're being transparent, two, we're allowing an opportunity for other victims to come forward so that they don't feel like they're the only one, perhaps. So that's typically the rationale.
All right, Christopher, thank you. A lot of great perspective there. Really appreciate it. 5 alleged victims who say they were sexually abused by a New Jersey priest have settled their lawsuit. Father Michael Walters was accused of molesting boys and girls in the 1980s and 90s. He denied the accusations and was removed from ministry in 2016. The Archdiocese of Newark released this statement. We are hopeful that settlement of these 5 claims will begin the healing process for the victims, survivors, and we continue to work toward the resolution of similar matters. A new migrant caravan from Honduras has started its journey up north. The caravan left San Pedro Sula this morning. The migrants say they're fleeing the violence in their home country. President Trump tweeted about the caravan saying, quote, "Tell Nancy and Chuck that a drone flying around will not stop them. Only a wall will work. Only a wall or steel barrier will keep our country safe." More U.S. troops are headed to the southern border. The Department of Defense has approved a request from Homeland Security for additional military support. Now, there are about 2,200 already in position. The Pentagon must determine how many more will be deployed and how they'll pay for the added protection. President Trump's pick for Attorney General, William Barr, faced the Senate Judiciary Committee today. If confirmed, Mr. Barr would decide the fate of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's probe. Camila Bernal is in Washington with the latest.
President Trump's pick to lead the Justice Department and oversee the Mueller probe, promising to protect the investigation during his Senate confirmation hearing.
If confirmed, I will not permit partisan politics, personal interests, or any other improper consideration to interfere with this or any other investigation.
If confirmed, William Barr would have direct oversight of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian interference of the 2016 elections and possible collusion by the Trump campaign. The same probe former Attorney General Jeff Sessions recused himself from in 2017, a move that sparked the ire of the president, but one that Barr agrees with.
I think he probably did the right thing recusing himself.
Barr says he would not be influenced by the president, who has been publicly critical of the probe since it began.
I will not be bullied into doing anything I think is wrong.
Barr faced questions about a memo he wrote to senior Justice Department officials last year. In it, he called the special counsel's obstruction probe, quote, fatally misconceived.
The memo did not address or in any other way question the special counsel's core investigation into Russian efforts to interfere in the election, nor did it address other potential obstruction of justice theories or argue that some have wrongly suggested that a president can never obstruct justice.
In Washington, Camila Bernal, Currents News.
A federal judge in New York has struck down the Trump administration's push to add a question about citizenship to the 2020 census. Judge Jesse Furman is standing behind critics who say the inquiring about citizenship status would discourage non-citizens from participating. He also called the proposal unlawful. The administration will likely appeal the ruling.
We'll be communicating extremely vigorously that people have nothing to worry about.
Getting up against the deadline for putting questions on the 2020 census. And I think that's why the administration is much more likely to try to appeal today's ruling and get it reversed by a higher court than go back and start at square one.
The citizenship question has not appeared on the full census since 1950. It has appeared more recently in off-year surveys sent to a small fraction of households. Venezuela's opposition-controlled National Assembly voted unanimously not to recognize President Nicolas Maduro for a second term as president. President Trump may instead acknowledge Venezuela's opposition leader Juan Guaido as the legitimate interim president. Now, the move could put more pressure on Maduro and his inner circle and restrict access to financial assets overseas. British lawmakers rejected Prime Minister Theresa May's plan to exit the European Union today. The vote is a significant blow to the movement British citizens voted on 2 years ago. Lawmakers will cast ballots tomorrow in a no-confidence vote against May's government. That may cause a national vote. How the UK will leave the union is now in turmoil. Broadway saying goodbye to a beloved star of the stage. A legendary actress, Carol Channing, has died. Channing was best known for her role as Dolly Levi in Hello, Dolly. That performance earned her a Tony Award in 1964. She is survived by her son, cartoonist Channing Carson. Carol Channing was 97, and our prayers are with her family. There's a lot more news headed your way. A sculpture at a 9/11 site has been removed. Why it caused so much outrage for New Yorkers next. He was thrown in jail for standing outside of an abortion clinic with a pro-life sign. We're joined by Reverend Walter Hoy about his experience and the state of the pro-life movement. And Rome's famous Trevi Fountain collects over $1 million in a year. But where does that money go? We'll tell you. And do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Controversial artwork sparking a big debate on social media. Now tonight, those sculptures are gone. The artwork was displayed next to the 9/11 memorial. So what's the controversy? Well, it includes a flag of Saudi Arabia. Currents News' Tim Harfman is standing by in downtown Manhattan with details. Tim.
Liz, behind me is where the sculptures were displayed. 15 of the 19 attackers on 9/11 were Saudi citizens. Many New Yorkers asking who approved the exhibit called Candy Nations that pays tribute to Saudi Arabia at a site many still call a graveyard. Covered and carted off. Sculptures on display outside the Oculus at the 9/11 site, sparking controversy among New Yorkers who are still deeply affected by the attack. A French artist created the 9-foot-tall statues in the shape of candy, each one painted with flags representing G20 countries. The exhibit, titled Candy Nations, includes the flag of Saudi Arabia. 15 of the 19 9/11 terrorists held Saudi passports, drawing outrage from online users.
It's fine that they have, a piece of candy that signifies the country, but maybe they could put it in a place that isn't so close to the bone for New Yorkers.
The exhibit has been on display in 25 countries and was installed at the 9/11 site earlier this month. The Port Authority released a statement reading, quote, "We have been in contact with the 9/11 Memorial and various stakeholders, and in full collaboration with the artist will relocate the exhibit from its current location. We believe this solution respects the unique sensitivities of the site and preserves the artistic integrity of the exhibit." The Port Authority is expected to relocate the display at JFK Airport.
I don't believe that that is a representation of the entire country of Saudi Arabia, and therefore that country should be disqualified or their art representing should be removed.
One World Trade Center towers over the site, but it's not enough to overshadow the negative feelings these 9-foot statues bring.
I understand why some people would be still very, very triggered, and not being American and not having been here and the pain and the suffering that people felt. You know, I can feel it. It's palpable when you arrive here. People are still feeling anxious and a bit shaky.
The sculptures were scheduled to be here in Lower Manhattan for 2 months. No word as to when they'll arrive at JFK or how long they'll be there. In downtown Manhattan, Tim Harfman, Currents News. Liz, back to you.
Thanks, Tim. According to a new poll, most Americans believe that there should be limits to abortion. 75% of Americans believe that abortion should be limited to within the first 3 months of pregnancy. 65%, nearly 2/3, believe that if the Supreme Court revisits Roe v. Wade, the landmark decision that legalized abortion, the decision should be overturned, or that states should be allowed to set their own restrictions of abortion law. The poll is sponsored by the Knights of Columbus. A California Baptist pastor was thrown in jail for standing outside an abortion clinic with a pro-life sign. Now, that happened in 2009. Police say he broke a law making it illegal to approach a woman entering an abortion clinic without her consent. Now, Reverend Walter Hoy has dedicated his life to spreading the pro-life message, and he will be one of the attendees of the upcoming March for Life, and he joins us now. Reverend Hoy, thank you so much for being with us. Please take me back to the moment of your arrest. Talk to us about that.
Well, let me tell you, Liz, the police were coming to the abortion clinic. I was standing on the public sidewalk, and that day I happened to notice the escorts, the abortion clinic escorts, weren't following me around anymore. They weren't blocking my face with their signs. They weren't blocking my signs with their signs. Mm-hmm. They were all huddled up by the door of the abortion clinic. And so when I saw the police, I didn't think anything about it. When the escorts weren't bothering me, I didn't care. And guess what happened? When the police came, they went to arrest the abortion clinic escorts for blocking the entrance. And when they got there, they said, "Oh no, it's that black man over there." And then the police turned around and they saw me, they put their head down and they walked over and they began to arrest me.
As a pastor, a man of God, what was it like being in jail for something obviously that you felt so greatly about?
There were moments where I was witnessing all day and all night. I wasn't getting any sleep at all. We had prayer at midnight, like Paul and Silas. But there were also times, particularly this one time, when I was just through. I said, "Lord, as soon as I get out, I'm going right back, and I'm going to get all 4 years this time." I said, "Where is this going?" And that's when God spoke to me and helped me understand His will and His purpose for my life.
What was that purpose?
He wanted me to continue to reach out into the black community, particularly black leadership, and communicate the pro-life message.
Reverend Hoy, we have so little time left, but I have to talk with you about the March for Life because I know you'll be there. Where's the pro-life movement today?
The pro-life movement today is making great strides. It's obviously a good time, still very difficult, still a whole lot of work to do, but there's so much going on right now that wasn't going on 8 years ago.
Reverend Hoy, your story is compelling and it's passionate, and I thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
God bless you. Thank you, Liz. Love you.
Currents News will provide team coverage of the 46th annual March for Life from Washington, D.C. this Friday, January 18th. Emily Drewby will be at the National Mall, and Christopher White will be talking with us and filing exclusive reports beginning this Thursday. It's being called a landmark decision, one that goes further than ever before to protect private lives from government searches. Authorities cannot force people to unlock their phones. A magistrate judge from California has ruled that police cannot force people to unlock devices with their faces, fingers, or eyes. Previously, U.S. judges had ruled that authorities were allowed to do so. The judge also declared that the government does not have the right, even with a warrant, to force suspects to incriminate themselves by unlocking their devices. Still to come on Currents News, where do the coins in Rome's famous Trevi Fountain really go? It's a lot of money, and it's been the source of some controversy lately. And the old Tappan Zee Bridge is no more. We'll be right back. Every year, more than $1 million worth of coins are fished out of the famous Trevi Fountain in Rome. The money has been donated to a Catholic charity, but recently Rome City Administration created a splash when they said they wanted to claim the cash. But Rome's mayor has now backtracked the contentious plan. Melissa Butts has more from the base of Trevi Fountain.
While tourists ritually throw coins into Trevi Fountain in hopes of one day returning to Rome, not many know that for the past 18 years, all this money went to the poor. Yet up until today, it was undecided if this should continue. $1.7 million is the amount of money collected from Trevi Fountain in 2018 alone. This tradition has made a huge impact by funding Caritas Charity's homeless shelters, soup kitchens, and other services for the needy in the city. However, a rumor was confirmed in December that Rome's mayor, Virginia Raggi, wanted to instead use the money for the city itself. It's something Caritas' director calls a misunderstanding. In the past few days, it seems as if there has been perhaps a misunderstanding. We as Caritas Rome waited for details from the city with respect to what was published earlier this year. We were waiting, and all that was published in newspapers, which attracted attention. There were questions directed at the city and even to us, but we waited until the city itself clarified what it meant. All these clarifications arrived yesterday through the mayor. Additionally, he said he received a phone call from the city of Rome Tuesday morning, clarifying that the money would in fact go to them. It's an idea many tourists agree with.
What it should go to is people that don't have a lot of money. That's just my personal opinion.
I would expect that it goes to charity, and I think it probably should go to charity as well.
Rome's mayor also confirmed that not only would Caritas receive the money from the Trevi Fountain, but from all the fountains in the city. It's news that Caritas confirms as a gift. We received the news with great joy and satisfaction, not for us, but for the people we could help. The only change, according to the city of Rome, is that ASIA, the fountain cleaning services, will be the ones to collect and count the funds, instead of the Catholic Church's charity, Caritas. So as for now, this simple action and hope to return to the Eternal City will continue to help the poorest of the poor here in Rome. In Rome, Melissa Butts, Currents News. Back to you in New York, Liz.
All right, Melissa, thank you. After spanning the Hudson River for over 6 decades, the old Tappan Zee Bridge is no more. A section of the old bridge was demolished in a controlled blast earlier today. The old span has already been replaced by the Governor Mario M. Cuomo Bridge, which connects Westchester and Rockland counties about 30 miles from the city. That is Currents News. I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.